Yo, welcome back. We are in our new apartment. Just moved in a few days ago. I got a lot of people asking me, how do I eat? What does my diet look like? So today, got the laptop here. We are prepared and we are going to dive into how to eat to be a jackedlete. I'm going to cover a lot here. If I mess something up, because sometimes I do, feel free to check me in the comments. And yeah, let's just get right into it. So, before we dive in, I want to go over some important concepts that we need to understand before we talk about the actual food that we eat. And so, the first thing is your total daily energy expenditure. So, think about just how many calories that you're burning throughout the day, whether it's just right here, you're resting metabolic rate, you're going outside, going for a walk, you're going to do a workout. All those things added up, your total daily energy expenditure. That's what it is. Now, with that, there's also your maintenance calories. So, your maintenance calories are basically just the amount of calories that you eat that the weight on the scale would pretty much just stay the same. So, right, if we're trying to bulk, we're going to need to eat in a caloric surplus, and if we're trying to cut or lose weight, we want to eat in a caloric deficit. I don't track my calories. So today, I'm also baking in here how we can intuitively eat and how I can teach you to not have to. I was going to reach for my phone, but I'm filming with my phone. How you can eat without having to have a MyFitnessPal or a chronometer, because let's be honest, that's not really sustainable. And sure, it might have some value at the start, but you're going to learn these concepts anyways, so you might as well learn it now and have this for the rest of your life. Now we're going to talk about your macros. So your macros are three things. It's going to be protein, carbohydrates, and fat. Now protein, I want you to just think about how I think about this, at least. It's pretty much just the building blocks to gaining lean muscle, right? Now with protein too, a couple cool things with this macro group is that it also has the greatest thermic effect of food, which means that your body actually burns the most calories digesting this, which is important. It also keeps you satiated for longer, which means it fills you up. So if you eat, let's say, a bag of chips compared to 6 ounces of chicken breast, you're gonna feel way more satiated and full from eating that chicken breast compared to eating a bag of chips. It's also worth noting that protein has 4 calories per gram. Carbohydrates also have 4, and then fat, which we'll talk about here in a minute, has 9 calories per gram. Moving on to our second macro, carbohydrates. Now, you might have looked on Instagram online and you've seen this macro group almost being demonized, right, by those animal-based diet guys, only eat meat and whatever. They're not eating any sort of carbs. They're going keto. My personal opinion on this is that it's kind of stupid and it's not needed to, whether you're trying to gain weight, lose weight, and you're not going to perform your best, especially if you're being athletic. Like on this channel, we sprint, we run, we jump, we lift heavy weights. Doing keto and not having carbs is going to make that a whole lot harder, and you're going to risk getting injured. So carbs, they're going to break down into glucose, and I want you to think of glucose as just the fuel, that quick fuel that your body needs to go and perform, do your workout, right? High activity, that's what you need to do to fuel your body. This is your body's preferred fuel source for your brain, your body, and your nervous system. Yes, your body can also use what are called ketones, which stems from fat, but that's not your body's primary source of fuel. It will always use the glucose first. This glucose is stored as glycogen in your muscles and liver, and it's used, like I said, to do those athletic things in the weight room, on the field, etc. Another thing worth mentioning too is that it also speeds up muscle recovery. So post-workout, right, if we're thinking before our workout, we have our high carb, which we'll talk about later, and then after our workout, many people just think, oh, I just need protein. But you also want to include carbs in there as well, because it will help speed up that muscle recovery. Last but not least, we have our fats. Now, whenever I think of fats, the main things that I think about are hormone function and regulation, brain health, and vitamin absorption. Like I talked about, these have 9 calories per gram. So these are the most energy dense macro that we have. These have long lasting energy. So me personally, what I will do is for my first meal, it will be higher in fat than it will be in carbs. I like to have a higher fat, higher protein meal as my first meal of the day. Gives me that long lasting fuel until I have my first workout. Then I'll have my pre-workout meal or snack, and then we go into our quote unquote like regularly scheduled meals. This next one is going to be a bonus, but I think it is worth including because it's not talked about enough, and that's fiber. And basically how I would explain fiber is that it's really there for digestion support, it helps you poop easy, and it keeps you feeling fuller for longer. It's just more volume in your diet. So think about like your vegetables. I see this a lot online as well too. Like people will demonize vegetables. Oh, like it's not good for you. It's going to mess up your digestion. That's just not true unless you have some sort of medical condition prior to eating that. And it's going to help, like I said, with more volume in your diet. It's going to make you feel full so that you're not having to eat like 250 grams of protein, 300 grams of protein just to feel satiated and full. Also, too, they taste good. Like you throw peppers in an omelet, tastes amazing. You get some grilled zucchini with your steak, with your ground beef. Awesome. So high level takeaways here. Remember, protein builds and repairs muscles, carbs, energy and performance, fats, hormones, brain, long-term fuel, and then fiber, gut health, and appetite control. So now we're going to touch on the three main things that you'll need to not have to track your macros, but still make progress with your diet. And so the first thing we're going to talk about is our nutrition quality. Okay. Whole foods, high in protein, so lean sources of protein, are going to be your main focus throughout all of your meals and with your diet. So whole food focus with lean protein. So lean sources of protein with a whole food focus. What are some examples? These are going to be your organic ground beef. These are going to be your chicken breast, your tuna, your salmon, Greek yogurt. All of these things are super high in protein and they come from whole food sources. Now, I'm not against the protein powder or the protein shakes and bars, but they're processed and they have other ingredients in there that aren't conducive to getting jacked. They also don't have a lot of micronutrients which are needed to support other bodily functions. Now, another hot button issue that we see online too is seed oils. Are they good? Are they bad? Here's my take on this. First off, the way that they're produced, the way that they're heated up, the way that they're bottled, I don't agree with. Additionally too, even if you think that seed oils are good, even if they were good, they're found in a lot of processed foods anyways. So if I tell my clients, you can't eat seed oils, nothing with seed oils, that eliminates a whole sector of just bad processed food, which I think is really simple and it keeps it super easy to follow, which is why I always say no seed oils in my diet. The next thing is portion control and habits. So before that I go and eat a meal, one simple rule that I like to follow is the 20-20 rule, which basically states 20 grams of protein and 20 ounces of water. I don't measure them out exactly. Like I said, I don't specifically track the macros, but I eyeball about 20 grams of protein and then 20 ounces of water before I go into my meal. Now, what this allows me to do is instantly have something in my belly to where I'm not just craving, right? My body's super hungry. I'm just craving something fast. I'm not going to reach for the processed food. I'm going to reach for 20 ounces of water and 20 grams of protein. Then I'll go into my regular meal. And what that's going to do is it's going to limit the actual portion sizes of my meal, and I'm going to hit my protein target for that day. Next thing, intermittent fasting. I will typically fast for 10 to 12 hours before my first meal. So between my last meal yesterday and my first meal today, I will typically wait 10 to 12 hours. Now, I will wake up and the first thing that I do to prevent those hunger spikes is having water with electrolytes and then having some coffee as well after I go and move my body. That really helps me personally stay consistent with that intermittent fasting so that my first meal of the day, I'm not eating crap, I'm eating a healthy whole food focused meal. And throughout the whole day, I'm following that 90-10 split, right? 90% whole foods, 10% whatever you want. Because let's be real, like you're going to encounter something that's in a package. You're not going to be able to cook, 1 pound of ground beef, maybe if you're traveling, right? So you're going to have to do this tastefully. And the reason why I say 90-10 and not maybe 85 or 80 is if you think about it, right? If we're treating our day like a grade on a test, a 90% is an A, and 80% would just be 1 point away from a C, right? It'd be an 80%, that's 1 point away from having a C, right, for that day, a C physique. So we want to get 90% or better throughout our day. And I will tell you, once you start, it's very easy to keep going because you're going to feel a whole lot better than you did eating 80-20 processed to whole foods, whole foods to processed. And you're not going to want to go back because one, there is so many good tasty foods, and two, like I said, you're gonna just feel better. Third thing, lifestyle drivers. Getting enough sleep, 7 to 9 hours per night, is very important, as well as managing your stress levels as well. If you have high stress, it's going to increase your cortisol, which is basically like your body's stress hormone, and it's going to tell your body to hold on to more energy in the form of fat, specifically visceral fat right around your belly. It's also going to increase your appetite, and especially for those quick energy foods, usually sugary, saltier, or even fatty snacks. That's that stress eating effect that you often see from stressed out workers, moms during pregnancy, all those different things. It also affects your sleep, and poor sleep will also lower your leptin levels, which is basically the I'm full hormone, and raises ghrelin, which is the I'm hungry hormone. So basically, I say that all to say, try to keep your stress levels intact, go for a walk, meditate, get 7 to 9 hours of sleep each night, and you'll be fine. Next up, we're gonna move on to vitamins. Now, the vitamins and supplements, they're only, the tip of the pyramid here when we're talking about what's gonna move the needle, but they are worth talking about because they do have some benefits. I don't take a whole lot of supplements, but the ones here I stand by, and we're gonna talk about them and their benefits. The first one is vitamin D3 and K2. I take 8,000 IUs of this a day, and this is gonna help build strong bones. It's gonna help your testosterone levels and increase that calcium absorption. So D3, think about it like this. D3 increases your calcium absorption, and then K2 basically directs that calcium into your bones, your teeth, etc. Next up on the list is magnesium glycinate, anywhere from 200 to 400 milligrams at night. Throughout our week, we're doing a lot of things that are gonna tax our central nervous system, whether we're sprinting, we're lifting heavy weights. So magnesium glycinate is designed to relax those nerves, to help the nerve support and give them the energy to work. It also helps you relax and sleep better, which is why I always take it at night before I go to bed. I also choose magnesium glycinate because it's the most bioavailable. It doesn't upset your stomach and your body absorbs it well. Next up, creatine. I think everyone and their mother should be taking this supplement. Its main role is pretty much to recycle ATP, and ATP, if you think about it, is just pretty much your body's energy. During especially high intensity workouts, your body's ATP runs out very quickly. Creatine donates a phosphate group to help regenerate that ATP throughout the workout. So it essentially lets you push harder for longer. That's why you always see the elite athletes use this. Not only does it help you with intense workouts, but it also has neuroprotective benefits as well. One thing to note though too is that you need to be drinking a lot of water whenever you are on creatine, or else you might cramp up. I know I've had a few nasty calf cramps, while I was on creatine, and I just realized I was not drinking enough water. Another popular adaptogenic herb you see online is ashwagandha, and I have taken this supplement, so I want to kind of just go over some high-level benefits of this. Basically what it does is it helps lower cortisol in your body, and it has been shown in some studies to increase testosterone over time in males. One caveat though I'd like to mention is that I will not be on ashwagandha for more than 12 weeks at a time. Typically, I will cycle on and off of this because I have seen some studies out there that say that your body's endocrine system will adapt to this, and it could reduce your body's natural ability to self-regulate your stress levels. Now, moving into actual meal structure and timing for performance, to be a JACKEDLETE, to perform your best, look your best, all those good things, I will start with, first, let's talk about the workout aspect. So before I go and work out, that will be my highest carb meal of the day. I typically have my favorite meal that I eat almost every single time. I love it. I don't get tired of it. I will have 2 pieces of Dave's Killer Bread, and then with that, I will throw on some PB Fit, banana, and some honey to top it all off. I find that just my body, it digests it very well. I get a great workout in, I get a great pump in. So yeah, like I said, high carb, still throwing some protein in there as well. But the main focus is to get that glycogen, get that glucose into your body so that you can use it. Now, like I say, because I intermittent fast, that gives me room to have bigger meals later on throughout the day. So I'll typically have 2 big meals throughout the day with my pre-workout snack and then my other snack that I have, which is Greek yogurt. The Greek yogurt bowl is my staple for a snack throughout the day as a dessert because it's so versatile. So basically all it is non-fat plain Greek yogurt. Sometimes I'll even throw in a scoop of protein powder, or some PB Fit in there, and then I'll have fruit on top with honey if I so please. And if you think about it, right, you can just up the lever, turn it down, depending on your goals for that meal. So, like, let's say you're eating that after a workout, you can just have a whole ton of protein in there with the extra scoop of protein powder, but then still some carbs on top with your fruit, and it'll keep you satiated for a long time. So, typically, my first big meal of the day will be some sort of omelet, and I'll throw in some veggies like spinach in there or peppers to add some more volume, like I talked about, into my diet. I'll have eggs and then some sort of fruit as well, probably like a banana or an apple. I'll move into whether it's my pre-workout snack. So my pre-workout snack, I just talked about that. And then post-workout, I will have probably, I call it my dog bowl. I just put in a bunch of yummy food. I think about it kind of like a Chipotle bowl. You know, there's different combinations, but it's more or less the same thing. And it's going to be probably just some 97% lean ground beef. Gonna throw that in there, whether it's rice or potatoes. Also, too, little hack here: cook your rice in bone broth because it's gonna add in more protein and collagen, which will help your joints, help you grow those big muscles. Any way that you can sneak in more protein into your diet is always a good thing. So I'll have my dog bowl, rice, either rice, potatoes, mixed veggies, and ground beef. And then late at night as a snack or as a dessert to help right curb my cravings, I'll probably have a Greek yogurt bowl. My protein target, so I don't track my calories, but I do keep a good idea on my protein throughout the day, typically aiming for 1 gram per pound of desired body weight. So I want to be around 190 pounds, so I'll make sure that I'm at least eating 190. Sometimes I just say 200 just to make it easy. That way I know that I'm crushing my goal. And you're going to find out it's hard to eat 200 grams of protein and not feel full throughout the day. So it's a great way, like I said, if you have all of this volume coming from lean sources of whole food protein, it's hard to eat a bunch of junk food. And then you mix in that with your walking places, your running, your lifting, sprinting, and you're being active not only in your workout, but you're just having an active lifestyle outside of that workout. That's whenever you have that buffer, like we talked about, our total daily energy expenditure, you're increasing that and you're giving yourself room to play with how big those meals can be. I typically never feel like I am starving myself whenever I'm trying to cut weight. Now, don't get me wrong, you might have some sort of cravings throughout the day, but like I said, follow that 20-20, 20 ounces of water, 20 grams of protein. Wait 10 minutes and you'll typically find that it'll go away. Another thing to look out for is like those sneaky calories that you go throughout the day that aren't conducive to getting jacked. And those are going to be right liquid calories in the form of soda, sugary drinks. Not a big fan of those too. And then as well, condiments. So your mayo, ketchup even. Those things have calories in them and you have to just be aware if you are using those things that they're going to add in more calories throughout your day. And I like me personally, like the hot sauce that I use, the avocado spray that I use to cook with, 0 calories. So it makes it easy for me because the more that you can eat and like the same staples, like the same food, the easier it's going to be. Your body's going to get the same amount of nutrients, the same amount of calories every single day, and you're going to see progress the quickest. Now, when we talk about if we're actually following this and we're trying to set a goal for ourselves, whether it's with gaining weight, losing weight, that's where you have to weigh yourself every single day if you can, or at least every single week to know and have that marker of if I'm improving or if I am not improving. And before you step on the scale, what I want you to do is just hypothesize if your weight's going to go up or down. So like, let's say you had a great day of eating yesterday, you step on the scale today and your weight went down. You guessed that your weight went down and it did. That's awesome, perfect. You hypothesized correctly. You're not going to bat 1,000 obviously, but the more that you can get that right, I'm trying to teach you and you will be taught. That's how you intuitively eat, and you know if today you might gain a little bit of weight, or this week it might be, you might be over with your calories this week, or you might be under. And it goes into like if we're having fun on the weekends, like if you're going to go out and you're going to go drink, that's why you have to be dialed in during the week. Because if you're dialed in during the week and we're under calories and then we bump up a little bit during the week because we're drinking, or the weekend, excuse me, because we're drinking, we still want to be, if we're trying to lose weight, or if we're just trying to maintain at that total maintenance calories without having to track. And yeah, man, that pretty much covers everything that you need to know to get jacked, to get shredded without having to count macros. The game is simple. It just takes consistency over a long enough time span, right? A lot of people overestimate what they can get done in a week, underestimate what they can get done in a month. So just make sure you're being consistent with this. Find someone to keep you accountable with this, right? It's hard to, and it's easy to lie to yourself throughout the day or make excuses, but it's harder if you actually have to be held accountable to someone. All right, guys, that wraps it up. Let me know what you guys want to see next in the comments below. Let me know if you like this. As always, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.